Welcome to Sambai Speaks. This
Hi.
is our monthly webinar, our monthly web series where we talk about our research project Sambai. And if you're not familiar with it, we are doing a global study for breast cancer, prostate cancer, and pancreatic cancer to understand why Black people are and white people aren't. And Uza's coming on to join us.
Hey,
But we are here talking, and we have our lovely guest, Victoria Ekanoye, and Uza just joined. Hi, Uza. So we are introduced that we are here for Sambai Speaks, and today we're going to talk to Victoria. Victoria actually and I are in London.
Yes.
And we'll tell you all about it and why in a minute. But so our research project is global. We are in the US, the UK, Canada, Nigeria, South Africa, Ethiopia, Kenya, and Zambia now. And so I'm in London with Victoria today. So here's our latest episode. It was just joined us from the US, and we're going to talk about the amazing work that Victoria is doing. And she is our ambassador. She's one of our ambassadors. She's one of our patient advocates on our patient advocate team. And she is an amazing actress, singer, artist, and has great influence and power in the UK and really all over Europe and in Africa. And so first, you know what? And she's a blessed.
I am a blessed, and I love this.
And my Nigerian sister as well.
Yes, that's right. And your Nigerian sister. That's right. That's right. So you know what? Why don't we start with your blessed story?
Wow. Okay. December 2021, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and it wasn't the easiest ride to get that diagnosis. So when my son was 6 months old, I was breastfeeding him, and I found a lump. I'm the fifth person in my family now to develop breast cancer. So I guess with the knowledge of that, and then also being a patron of Prevent Breast Cancer, I had a pretty good idea of the process. But of course, at that point, you're breastfeeding, so all you're thinking about is the baby and all the
Feeding your baby. Yeah.
In fact, the changes that happen at that time, kind of expected, because your breasts are growing and swelling and changing literally by the hour.
Yeah. In and out, up and down.
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
Right.
But I went anyway, and I got an ultrasound, and they said I was fine. So I think in total it was about 8 or 9 days.
How old were you?
God, this was the end of 21, so 39.
39.
Yeah.
And you hadn't had a mammogram yet because you're 39?
No, I'm 50. It's 50.
Yeah.
So I mean, at this point, I guess like anybody would expect to do, the doctor says you're fine, you think you're fine, you take it and you run. But I'm an Ekanoye, but we are stubborn, and I'm glad we are now at this point. I pushed for a second opinion. I went and got another ultrasound, and they said they thought they could see small calcifications, but they thought it was due to the potential blocked milk ducts, mastitis, that kind of thing.
Mastitis, often they say that for young women who are nursing.
So to keep breastfeeding until my son was a year old, and then after a month, once the milk had dried up, then go back just to be sure, which I didn't like that phrase, after a month. So just to give context of time, that would have meant another 7 months of doing nothing. And initially, I guess you just don't, you feel to a point, okay, these are the professionals, they're doctors.
They should know what they're doing.
Right.
Hello.
And you know your body, but at the same time, especially with everything going on hormonally, I questioned myself.
Right.
Anyway, I just booked a job, flew out to Guadeloupe for Death in Paradise, I believe. So I was out there filming with my mom and my sister. Sorry, my mom and my son were with me. And I was adjusting my mic and found a second lump. Now, I was really angry, if I'm honest. That was probably the first feeling that I felt, because I just was like, surely not. And I hadn't said anything to my partner at this point, because his mum had just been diagnosed with ovarian cancer.
Wow.
And I didn't want to worry him if there was nothing to worry about, you know, just in case. Right. And we flew back I finished the job. We flew back to England to visit his mum, who was going through her first round of chemo. I just remember watching him and his mom and our son all playing together, looking at them and thinking, what will he do if he loses us both? If he loses me and he loses his mom, for his mental health, how will he raise our son?
Right.
So I told him that night, and then the next day I went back to get a third opinion. And thankfully, for whatever reason, completely different set of doctors, they did everything that day. I had a mammogram, an ultrasound, a biopsy, a needle test, everything.
Okay.
And was diagnosed 7 days later.
Wow.
Now, as I said, I'm the fifth person in the family. The family were tested for the BRCA gene, and it's not in our family.
Yeah. Not in
And
mine. Same thing.
you see,
We got 3 generations. Same thing.
and it's
But
really
that-
common.
No, but you know what? You know what? That's because the genetic testing that we have, we could have genes that haven't been tested for yet, that haven't been found yet.
Mhm,
We're not sure
mhm.
what's not being accounted for here.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. And then we're not on the panel, but Dr. Melissa has discovered a gene in Ghana called the Duffy-Null gene that's attributing to triple negative breast cancer in Ghana. I could have that gene, but we don't know. So the genetic testing, though we all should get it, it still doesn't encompass Black people.
Yeah,
And so that's why we're seeing too, if you have a family history, it's so important
you have to.
to check your breast because it's going to happen.
Yeah, and you have to know your family history. I mean, and I know that generations above us, they tend to hush things down and not talk about it. But if you can pass down,
Especially
things
being of African, direct African descent, or we don't
Right.
talk about our health at all.
No, absolutely not. I can't stress enough, and especially with this whole process for me, finding, I guess, the common thread with my experience with everybody else is that the more we talk to each other, the longer we live, because we are passing on this information, vital information, whether it's from our grandparents
Right.
or from other friends, family members. I mean, we pass down incredible recipes generation to generation, but we don't pass down the recipe of disaster for disease
Right.
within our bodies. And it's insane because
Right.
it's what keeps us alive, or at least keeps us in a state of knowing to be
Yeah,
able to do something about it.
I always say the
Why not-
secrets are killing us.
Exactly.
Right.
Why
Exactly.
not share about our history while we're learning to make the cultural,
The mac and cheese, right? The mac and cheese, right?
mac
We're not gonna do mac
cheese,
and cheese,
or
but
the jollof rice in Nigeria, or like the famous soups we have? Why not have those conversations while we're cooking those meals
Right.
and learning how
Right.
to? And I think that's why it's so important to share Sambai as building a healthier legacy, right? Because it's not providing a medication, but we are hopefully going to provide a lot of information to take us forward and living healthier lives, and just uncovering a lot of things outside of cancer about our environments and things like that. But yeah,
and we are looking
really
at genetics. We're looking at genetics. And so are there things that we're missing that the current system is missing? And that's so part of Sambai.
Do you guys in the States, so obviously after the fact and after really deep diving into everything, I did have some gene testing, genetic testing, and it turns out I have a mutation of a gene called ATM,
Yes.
which gives you a higher
Yes.
predisposition to ovarian and breast cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So now my family have that information. They can all go and get tested for that
Right.
to see, and sometimes it's working in a reverse way almost.
Right.
Because the generations before
Yeah.
me were tested or didn't
Right.
know that they had that, because it wasn't as
Right.
known as everyone talked about the BRCA gene. Maybe PAL-B2 was probably the third common most.
Right. Right. But ATM
Gene.
is definitely out there.
Yeah. But it blows my mind, because we are in a place now where there is so much information out there, and people don't know that information is there, and it could literally be saving their lives. And even if, the testing that we've found, there are tests you can take to see if you're predisposed to any type of cancer, and if you are, there's preventative medication, preventative surgery, lifestyle changes, what we eat, what we drink, what we put on our bodies, in our bodies.
Yeah.
And then also,
All risk factors.
yes, all of that, environmental
Yes.
assaults, I call them, because it is that from all around, whether it's the air we breathe or whatever it may be. And we can change we can change those or minimize those risks, minimize those factors.
And we're looking at all those things with Sambai. We're looking at
Yes,
genetics.
exactly.
We're looking at the environment.
Mhm.
We're looking at the social determinants of health, where you came from. We're looking at the genomics, the biology of the cancer cells. And so that's why this study is so important, because we're studying all these things. And then how do they all interact,
Yeah.
right? How they, because if you think about it,
It's
you
like a
know,
melting pot, isn't it?
exactly. It's like the Gestalt effect. But if you think about it, a lot of people will go and get rid of their breast cancer or their prostate cancer, whatever, but they'll go back and live in the environment that could have given it to them,
Cause it in the first
right?
place.
And have a recurrence. So all of those things are part of this 5-year study that we're
Yeah.
in. So it's so important to do this research.
Yeah.
So we're so glad you're on our team.
Thank you.
So what'd you do? So what treatment did you have?
Well, actually, I was diagnosed with DCIS, which is ductal carcinoma in situ.
Yeah.
Technically, they call this stage 0 because there's no invasion. But
So you caught it early.
yes, very early, because I, thank God,
You were
I went
diligent.
straight in.
Yeah.
However, I have sickle cell, so I had to have a full body blood transfusion before I could have any kind of surgery. So from the date of diagnosis, which was October 13th, to the date of surgery, which was December 17th, so about 8 weeks, I had then progressed to stage 1. So they found microinvasion in the breast and micrometastases in 2 of the lymph nodes in my armpit. So they removed a cluster of them of 7. Now, they offered a lumpectomy, but I pushed for a double mastectomy.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Just living with the fear.
Right. And knowing that you had this gene now.
Right.
And look at how fast it progressed as well. I mean, imagine if you didn't advocate properly for yourself, and if your team of doctors weren't on top of everything, it had progressed to stage 1. Who knows what would have happened if you didn't decide to go with a full mastectomy.
Right. Right.
And we shouldn't have to advocate for ourselves to that extent.
No, we shouldn't, but we do.
But we do, and we should be prepared to, I think, and feel the confidence to know that, yes, they're medical professionals, but they're human. And human error is in every profession.
It is.
And we have to be able to go, okay, I hear what you're saying, but my body doesn't feel right. And you are the CEO of your own health. It's a wonderful phrase that you use.
You're the girl boss of your health.
Absolutely. You know your body better.
By your doctors as well. So that's great that you got a second opinion. Get a third, get a fourth if you need to.
If you have to.
Right.
And I had the double mastectomy and a reconstruction, nipple sparing, skin sparing. The great thing for me, I think I have to say, is that because I caught it so early and it was micro invasion, there was nothing left really. There was no
breast tissue. Yeah.
And I actually developed a nipple necrosis because they took that much of the breast and nipple tissue away. Now, obviously the necrosis wasn't fun at Christmas when everything was closed and it was locked down.
Oh no. Oh no.
But it did mean that they did a really great job when it came to taking away as much tissue as possible to minimize the risk percentage of recurrence.
That's good.
I am on tamoxifen,
Okay.
which is tablet 1 a day, 20 milligrams. I think I'm in year 3 now for that. I also started goserelin, which is an injection, subcutaneous injection into my stomach every 28 days. Now that turned my ovaries off to stop my body from producing estrogen because it's estrogen receptor positive.
Right.
Which turned me, which pushed me into an induced menopause.
Right.
Which was really fun with a toddler.
Right.
Oh my gosh. But it's a small price to pay.
Yeah. How old is Theo now? Theo's 4 now.
4 going on 14.
I know. So cute. So cute. So cute.
But yeah, he was, to be fair, he was the shining light for us all, because it kind of went from COVID into pregnancy, into birth, into COVID, into cancer, into COVID. It was insane.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it was just 2 years of what?
what's gonna
going
happen
on.
next.
Yeah.
Right. What's gonna happen
Um,
next? Wow.
Bearing in mind, we live in Nice in France, and so my partner's company is there. So he was for 6 months, twice for 6 months. He had to travel back and forth for 2 weeks, not knowing if he was going to make it into the country, not knowing if he was going to pick up COVID and bring it to
Oh,
us. It
yeah.
was really tough. And that's,
Mm.
everybody struggled with COVID, but I guess those added extras just really took its toll.
Cancer and everything. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
And I am so grateful because the support network I had was everything. And actually, your mental health is what that takes care of. Like the
Yes.
doctors take care of the physical side,
Right.
the surgery, and they tell you which medications. You do your research and think about your own body. But when it comes to the emotional side of things, you need that safety net underneath you.
You
And my
do.
family knew that I would want to do it my way and that I would be standing tall, standing strong, chin up. But no one's infallible. Everybody can.
No, you
Everybody can
can't do it
break.
alone. You can't do
can't
it
do
alone.
You need a soft place to land. Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
what they were.
Yeah, that's so
That's what they
good.
were.
That's so good. So, what did we do today?
What did we do today? Oh, it was wonderful. So an incredible, incredible woman, Leanne Perot, MBE,
Yes.
is the CEO of Black Women Rising. And she brought together the most, not just intelligent and in their professional.
Effervescent,
Yes.
magical women.
It was just beautiful, colorful, like inspiring, that they were across the board brilliant in their fields.
Yeah, so Leanne runs Black Women Rising.
She does. She's
kind of,
CEO.
yeah, it's a Black, women's advocacy group in England, in the UK, and they're all over the UK. But she brought together this, she just curated a dinner, and there were 12 of us at the dinner, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And but mostly doctors.
Yeah, I'd
Probably
say
8 doctors.
8 doctors.
8 doctors, all different doctors. General practitioners, surgeons. We had a plastic surgeon, 2 surgeons. We had one doctor who's like a big, really big person. And
Bola.
Dr. Bola. Yeah, she's very, very.
We're in love with her.
Well, yeah, we're in love with her. We have a girl crush. Well respected within the, the United Kingdom health system. And she actually said, you know what? 2 years ago, I'm on Cancer Grand Challenge team. And I'm in a, what did she say? She's a representative or something.
Yeah.
To do. And she said, 2 years ago, I went to the board and I said, you need to do a disparity study. And then a year later, they called her back and said, well, we have Sambai. So when she found out that we were associated with Sambai, she's like, all right. She's like, we've been waiting for you. We've been waiting for you.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing.
So she's
incredible.
like, she's like, you guys are Sambai? We're like, yeah, we're Sambai.
Yeah.
So she was so happy to meet us and said that she was one of the catalysts for having Cancer Grand Challenge, do a diversity or a disparity study. So, but we had these doctors and we just talked about everybody's work, what everybody's doing in the advocacy space, and all of these doctors were doing some kind of advocacy in addition to their practice.
That's so refreshing to hear.
Yeah, so we made lots of new friends. Uza, we have so many new friends now to be in our international network for Sambai, and that are working really, really hard in the space, doing clinical trials, doing all different surgical techniques, doing plastic surgery, but also just studying the science and understanding. And some of them were really young.
Yes,
Right?
which
Dr. Aziza was so young.
Which was incredible to see.
So incredible to see. So I feel like we made some new friends today to build our network. We talked about belong and how we wanted to engage them in it. And so it was just good to see have this refreshing conversation with these wonderful women who are doing great things and part of our tribe. We'll embrace them into our Sambai family and really get to know them better. But I feel like we now have some really good, solid feet on the ground.
Yeah.
In the UK and in London.
It's just great to know that there's little pockets. Everybody's working,
Yes.
beating the drum at the same.
Beating the drum.
We're all coming together slowly.
We know we can't do it alone.
Yeah.
I'd like to think of our piece in Sambai is going around and making friends and family. We're all creating this symphony of hope, right? Because we're all different voices, different cultures and backgrounds, but we're all trying to come together to represent the patient voice.
Yeah.
And I just hear a lovely melody. I hear lovely music of just like these cultures fused together. And It's so exciting. And also hearing about doctors wanting to be up to date in the latest research, latest science.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the
It was
most
refreshing.
valuable,
Yeah.
I think the most valuable characteristic of someone is remaining teachable. And obviously that is super crucial as a provider. You need to,
Yeah,
it's changing all the time. So you need to keep up with the times and look into new techniques and strategies. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And many of them had African roots.
Yes,
Dr.
they did.
Aziza's from Sierra
Yeah,
Leone. We
Sierra
had
Leone, Nigeria,
Nigeria,
Ghana.
Ghana. So the doctors were
Wonderful.
all had these African roots of
Mhm.
where we are. So they're going to help us even get some tentacles into Africa
Yeah.
based on their heritage and their families. So
Mhm.
that's
Awesome.
all good. That's all good. All right. So when I was saying, what do we do today? What else do we do today? Like, what's your big thing,
We
girl?
also, we had to get there in.
Okay.
We also filmed the very last segment of the global breast cancer documentary that I have been working on now for 2 years.
Yes.
Oh gosh, it's been a labor of love, and it's called Shades of Survival. Now, it has been the hardest project I think I've ever worked on, in part because my breast cancer story is the thread. So I'm constantly discussing every aspect of it,
Yeah.
you know, the hard
Yeah,
parts.
yeah.
There's the joy and the pain, and as I say, the badassery of being
The badassery. I love that word.
of being a blessed. But yeah, and I mean, I'm interviewing everyone across the board, whether it be scientists, research teams, oncologists, patients, families of those who have lost their battle. And it's just become very apparent to me that there's just so much shame and taboo and stigma attached to it, especially in the African communities, especially in, you know, we went to Nigeria, we went to South Africa,
Yeah.
and there are people dying solely because they don't want to talk about anything to do with any form of disease, but in particular, breast cancer has this extra stigma.
Right, right.
What it seems to be attached to is the fact that of the woman's role, I guess, is that the woman's role is to be the bearer of children for the next, you know, the next generations, to be able to breastfeed. If you take the tamoxifen, for instance,
Right.
then it, you know, you can't.
It takes
have
away
children.
it takes away
Ability to be a mother
your fertility.
whilst and more often than not, you have to be on it for 5 years.
Right.
So all of a sudden, they find themselves almost obsolete in their community. Not our words, in their words.
And think about too, what you're saying too, is that these women are in childbirthing years.
Yes.
I mean, there's just been this hoax that breast cancer was for older white women. It's not in our community,
No,
and definitely not in Africa.
Nope.
On the continent, we see these younger women, and so to be able to tell these stories is just invaluable. And you know, we'll play a little clip of the video, but of the film, but you know, I think you captured the essence of breast cancer.
Thank you. Thank you.
And it's frightening, it's chilling, it's scary, but it's also real.
Yeah.
It's necessary. Yeah, it's necessary.
Necessary. And what I love about it is that the pillars that we're working on, as I said, there is the shame and the stigma and the taboo and all of the fear, but it's also the resilience of
these women.
Yeah. What they're going through. If you imagine everything that we have had to go through with the privileged lives we have in comparison to the lives that they have. We went to the shanty towns. We went to these places where their houses are put together with 2 pieces of corrugated iron, and they're sleeping on slabs of stone with a throw over it, because that's all they've got. And they almost don't even have a concept of breast cancer because they're just trying to survive.
Right.
So, you know, there's that level of it too. It was very humbling. It puts things into perspective, but it is all relative. So just because they have that to deal with, that doesn't make our situation any less. It's big for us, you know. But it just made me go,
oh my gosh. And if I have what I have, and you know,
and it's been hard for me, then what on earth?
Like,
there's also the fact that healthcare is incredibly expensive for them,
right?
And some people are dying just because they can't afford to live.
Yeah, they can't even make it several villages over to wherever the next doctor is to even get checked to find out what's going on, you know. And
there's barely any countries. I think I don't want to be quoted on this. I think it's 5 countries in Africa have reconstruction options.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we know that. Yeah, five. No,
Five.
five, right?
On the whole
Yeah,
continent.
and then if you add chemo on that,
Mm-hmm.
that's even,
Yeah,
I don't know where the
even
chemo
worse.
is. And then, you know, it's just inaccessible
Yeah.
to these women. And then also you've got all those sort of cultural nuances where, you know, we heard stories in Ghana a month ago about how if the husband doesn't consent to the wife having treatment, she can't get it.
Because it's still a point of
Yeah,
I don't know what the correct term to use is, but
yeah,
it's still a case of being property.
yeah,
Is what it is,
yeah,
unfortunately,
it is.
as a wife in certain
Wow.
cultures,
Wow.
certain communities, and it's devastating, really.
Yeah, we had Dr. Beatrice tell us a story about how this woman had breast cancer, and he sent her to some mountain guru guy who told her to run around the mountain 20 times every day.
Oh, no.
She had watermelon-sized tumor in her boob. And then the husband already had another wife lined up, knowing this one was gonna die. So when they came to Dr. Beatrice, she's like, well, who's this other woman? Like, he brought her, like, he's already
No,
kind
he
of
didn't. He
programmed
didn't.
that this woman's gonna die and he's gonna just marry somebody else. Now, I don't want to say that's the norm. I don't want to talk badly about my African brothers, but I think there are some cultural nuances we have to understand about all these cancers.
Exactly that.
We also met a lot of men with prostate cancer. We met a couple of prostate doctors in Ghana, and there's so much taboo about that.
Yeah.
We
Because
didn't-
again, it's about their virility, it's about them
Yes,
as
their
men and what they
manhood.
can provide
Right.
and what they see as one of
Right.
the most important parts of their body.
right,
you know.
right.
And it's
And that's why
devastating.
it's so important to be on the ground and connecting with them to really explain the risk, but get the full picture of what the cancer experience looks like over there.
Yeah.
We
And we're
have
talking to some people that are in Africa now on the show. We're hoping this is reaching us, you know, reaching and saying, there are so many options. There are
Yeah.
so many things, and but that's why we're doing this study,
Mhm.
because we're trying to, you know, find the path to making it a better place.
Yeah.
Find the path to the science, find the path to, and we know it's coming from our African ancestry.
Mm.
You know, the world is being affected by our African ancestry. And so if we can find some things that are different about our cancer, you know, we can do that. But I think when you talk about shades of survival, you're just painting this picture of what this disease is doing and how devastating it is and how the need we have to make this research happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like to say she's demanding change through her storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you show it? Do you
Yep,
want me to
let's play a short clip here. Have it pulled up.
don't forget to do the sound.
Thank you.
Take a look. I know. That's what she tells me. That's why I'm not showing it.
It's one of the shorter ones. Let's see.
Okay.
Oh, this is a great one.
Yeah. Look.
I don't know. I feel like we have superpower within us in our melanin.
The 5-year survival rate for breast cancer in high-income countries is 90%. That plummets to 40% in South Africa and 32% in Nigeria. Many women simply cannot afford the healthcare that they need. In fact, faith often acts as a more affordable substitute.
We face so many hard truths and tragedies on this journey, but we have also been inspired.
Black women should not lose their lives simply because of the colour of their skin. Nobody should lose their lives simply because of the colour of their skin. And it's down to us all to do something about that.
Wow. It's down to us all. David, the director, showed me a bunch of scenes today. So that were
yes.
like the scene with the little girl in the water. Oh my gosh. The scene where she shaves her head.
Yeah.
It's just like blows your mind. And there's another scene that wasn't in this clip with the mouth, just seeing the woman's face talking.
Yeah.
But it's going to be, I mean, it is so compelling. So you're about a month away from release.
Yeah,
right?
post-production is the key now, and getting it all right. I mean, it's, you know, as you said, mentioned before, a few of the parts, what we've tried to do, it's incredibly cinematic. It's not your average documentary,
It's beautiful.
which has its place. But for us, it was also about it. We want for this to resonate to everybody, not just the specific demographic that would actually choose to watch a documentary, because we're trying to impact as many lives as possible and incite positive change, you know, and people need to see it and go, oh, and that we have a full breast examination on there. There is nothing blurred out. It's there, the whole thing, top to bottom, and showing which part of the hand to use. For those that don't know, use the insensitive part of your hand, not your fingertips, and knowing to do the collarbone and under the armpit, and not to do it once a month rather than every day. These are all the things that people genuinely
know.
they just
They
don't
don't know.
know.
They don't know.
Men don't know that they can get breast cancer. It's all of this, and we have a mammogram on there as well, which again people just don't ever get to see unless it's them having it done, because you can't even have someone in the room with you. But we hope for it to be informative as well, but it's also about hope. It is about all of the incredible things that are coming to the forefront, all of the ways in which we can help ourselves, all in the ways in which the doctors are now seeing things differently, slowly but surely seeing things differently. You know, I don't know how much people are aware of the tests that we can take. You can take a test to see if you're predisposed to any type of cancer.
Right.
If you are, preventative medication, preventative surgery, lifestyle changes, what we eat, what we put in our bodies, on our bodies, the skincare we use, all of that. They're all toxins to an extent. And if you're chronically using a toxin on or in your body,
or on your hair, right? On your head.
I mean, I have this app that I Google, I scan everything I use. I started off with my son because he has allergies. And I just have this thing now where I don't really buy anything. I've started to make our own washing detergent. It sounds like a lot, but then it just becomes second nature. And I'd much rather do that than it becomes second nature that I'm having to go in for chemo.
Right.
Again.
Hello.
You know?
Right. Right. But all of these things are going to come out in the wash as we think about this science and look at the cells that are different and look at, you know, how we can approach, you know, just the concept of cancer. And I think that's what Sambai is all about. So I hope that we can use the film at some events that we're doing, you know what I mean? And you know, we're doing an event anniversary, but as we sort of go around the world and share our stories and use it as a catalyst for conversation with these women. And really, even I think even when men see this, they, you know, we can relate it to prostate cancer. We can relate it to pancreatic cancer and say, it's just a cancer. Like, this is how cancer affects people and families. So excited to be a part of it, and see this thing come to life. So we are going to do another Sambai event tomorrow in London, and then headed to South Africa, do another Sambai event there. So
incredible. We
are working hard, and you know, we're so glad you came on this episode.
Thank you.
I'm so glad.
It's been a pleasure.
You have to come back on at some point.
You come back on, yes. Well, and you know, we may do like if you let us, maybe we could do like a private viewing and like a watch party. Why don't we do a watch party on Zoom so people can really see the film?
I'd love that.
And
it's great to get the feedback, because, you know, we're doing this from our perspective and whatever we're seeing out there, and it might not be everyone's story, but they'll be able to resonate with it to an extent. And so it'd be great to just get people's feedback and like, this part moved us, this part didn't quite hit home for us, but everybody's story, everybody's journey is so different, which is also why it's so important that all of the treatment is individualized and not size fits all, which for me is one of the biggest issues that we have right now.
Yeah, it is.
So just in that, like, just the fact that we all respond differently. We could both have the same stage, breast cancer.
Yeah, and have a totally different experience.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we don't know because our cells are different.
Yes.
And the drugs are made on white cells. So we don't know. But even tonight, you know, one of the doctors, the younger one, I think she was from Nigeria, but she had studied in Ireland. Remember the one?
Yes.
Yes. And when I talked about, you know, the white cells versus the black cells are different, she kind of argued with me a little bit.
Initially,
And she said, well, how do you know that? And she said, well, the treatments all work the same. I'm like, they don't. And we're going to prove that out in Sambai. And she kind of shut up after I started, like,
when you started to go into it.
Right,
But
like,
that just shows you that even the
Yeah, the
doctors,
doctors
because
don't
it's
know.
all about the education for them as well.
Right.
It's not just about educating
right,
Jane or Joe blogs. It's about that's why we want to get, as with Shades of Survival,
Right.
into the medical system,
right.
into the educational system,
Right.
because
I know we have
everybody's
to get it in
learning.
schools, yeah, we have to get it in
Exactly
schools,
that.
but she had her medical education in Ireland.
And
Are there Black people in Ireland?
not as many as you'd hope. Not as many as London, but
I know. So yeah, so her personal experience was different, right, than even the other doctors here. So,
yeah.
but everybody needs to be educated, and that's what we're all about.
Mhm.
And I think that's what Sambai is going to bring to the table. And as we get learnings, we're going to translate all the science into words people can spell and make it
Yes.
easy to understand,
Mhm.
translate the research papers. And so look for that, as we go along and get more study, get more research done. So
Mhm.
thanks
here
for
to
being.
Thanks for having me.
We're here to bring the love.
Yeah, we're bringing the love to the science.
Yes.
Yeah, putting the hug around it, putting the hug around it. So this is our, we'll see you next month, right? We'll be around doing more stuff and recording stuff, and we'll start to put stuff on our, look for our Instagram.
Mhm.
Our Instagram is at Sambai Advocacy, spell it SAMBAI advocacy on Instagram. Who's just posting, and we'll keep posting kind of what we're doing, where we're going, and check it out.
Yeah. Thanks so much for joining us, guys.
Joining us. All right.
Thanks for having me.
All right. See you, Uza. Love you, Uza. See you
Bye.
soon.
Bye, Isa.
Bye. Bye. See you next time.